it's not that difficult to turn one simple idea and a few $1,000s into an empire when you think that way. We have crowdfunding, we have search engines, we have a million different things out there. We have YouTube that you could get on and do videos and show your product, whatever. It's all about getting people in front of people. Now I ask you guys a question. How many people do you think you need to come to your website a day, unique visitors to your website a day, for you to make a decent living on your website? This is an average, and it's hard based on what your product's selling for and stuff, but I know the numbers, so we'll just pretend yours is an average priced product. How many do you think? Yeah, it's okay. You need around 100 people a day, unique visitors. And let me put that into perspective.
100 a day.
100 a day, which is about 3,000 a month.
Just visitors, not
just visitors.
Buyers.
Not buyers. About 100 a day. You'll hear people talk online or that have websites, and they'll tell you things like, I get 40,000 hits a month, or I get 40,000 visitors a month. They're lying. Or they don't know what they're looking at. Imagine if you had a store somewhere in California, we'll use that as an example, and 100 people a day came to that store. I'm talking about a small store in Magnolia. If those who don't know Magnolia, it's a small street that has lots of little shops with vintage clothing and things like that. Halloween stores, there's like 5 of them all year round. But anyhow, so about 100 a day, if you had a regular retail store, that'd be a lot of customers.
That's a lot of people, yeah.
That's a lot of people. You get up to 200 a day, and now your store is getting really busy.
Yeah.
I can tell you that you can get that kind of traffic with just a little bit of work every day. There's ways to do things automated where you don't do anything, and you can generate about half that a day, but without even trying anything.
That's without doing anything.
Yeah, I mean, so you might make $500 I'm just picking numbers, $500 or $1,000 a month because you're not working on it. But God forbid you actually start learning how to market, do some YouTube videos, and don't believe the hype, by the way. Being a YouTube person, you see, I'm making millions. Yeah, there are a few people making some money on YouTube, don't get me wrong. But a lot of them aren't making the kind of money they claim. And it's all about getting other people to get excited about what they think they're making. Mm-hmm. That's one of the reasons that I do these shows is I don't make money, although I do I put the advertising on these videos, but that's not my goal here. My goal here is to get the word out about what we're doing with our products. So YouTube for me is a vehicle to advertise my products. It's not about this chair, it's not about inventing. I am an inventor. I need new ways to get lots of traffic. And the way I do that is I have you guys come and we talk about stuff, and people are sitting at home watching this on YouTube, and they're learning the same thing that you guys are. By the way, they learn a lot more, so if you were here, you would find out that I tell them more than I tell you guys online, but they deserve it because they're putting up with me just rambling on for all this time. So about 100 people a day is a good target. It's not easy, but it's not hard. And this is where we were talking, I think I mentioned this in the last videos that we did, the therapy session. $50,000 a year.
Right.
It sounds like a number I've pulled out of my hat, just $50,000. That's actually low now. All the competition on the internet, all the stuff you see, it's still relatively easy to make $50,000 a year. Now we're talking gross. But remember, if you're making 40, 50, 60% on that 50,000, that's pretty good money.
Right, yeah.
Now you're motivated to get that 50,000 up to 75 because now you're making almost 50.
Yeah.
I worked for 6-7 years full time and made 3 times the amount online that I did in my full-time job. For those of you who worked with me in the past. Yeah. Wow. So, yeah. And that was without me putting much effort in. Now, it was the early days of the internet too, when there wasn't a lot of competition. But, and I actually made more than that, that $50,000, significantly more than that. And that eventually allowed me just to quit my job. It honestly got to the point where there was just no reason to stay. And I worked in the movie industry, was in the union in the movie industry, and had great benefits and a great job and all that stuff, and it still wasn't even worth it. So that's where this can go for you guys, and that's what I'm trying to explain to you. If you go the route that I think you're thinking of going, you're making a huge mistake.
It's the mistake almost everyone makes, right?
It's the mistake that I've made. It's the mistake that you will probably make. I'm just, picking on you. But yeah, it's a mistake that we're all making because we're thinking and I never thought about until years later. If I had just sold the first 100 at a loss. Do you know, to start, my original business is Trackstick, trackstick.com. It's still there, sell lots of them. If I had known then what I know now, I could have just made 100 pieces at a loss, because all I needed was those to go out to dealers to demo, so that those dealers would then buy 50, 100, 250 pieces, which was pretty much the average size orders, by the way. Thousands of those things we sold. But I had to do it the big way. I had to have the office and the employees and all that stuff. And all that was headaches. Because in the end, my entire business was run online, and I was never home. I traveled the world for 10 years and ran my entire business from my computer and took orders and simply sent them email to my fulfillment center, and they mailed them out. Never saw my product in 10 years. Still haven't seen it, by the way. Haven't seen the products that I sell, some of them I have not seen in years. I don't even use them or own them. The products that I know are going to be successful, by the way, are the ones that I do use. That's the most interesting thing. I talk about this as something that I discovered. I have a couple of products that I use myself. My original track stick, used all the time when I first got it and traveled the world with it, Switzerland, recording paths up the mountains, in the airplane, how the airplane was traveling, because it was a cheap GPS recorder. But the point is that usually I know something's going to be good when I use it myself. I have other products that sell, but the ones I use myself are the ones that just seem to be a home run. So it's something to think about. Remember, we don't have good products and we don't have bad products. We just have products that we make, we market, and then we see what's going to happen. So I think we should wrap this up and at least get started taking a look at how we're going to take this chair and how we're going to actually make this chair.
I have a quick
Yes, please.
Okay, so you said as one of the first steps, getting 25 units, even if it's at a significant loss, is fine because you're still, you have so little at risk.
Right.
I'm not entirely clear on what the next step would be to bridge between that versus
the manufacturing?
creating a greater order where you're actually making a profit.
Okay. So the first problem is when we get to about 100 units of anything, I don't care if it's electronics, CNC, when you get into injection molded parts, which are plastic, I hope everybody knows what an injection molded part is. It's pretty much everything we use these days is injection molded. That can get a little expensive, but there are plenty of places for simple molds like this mouse as an example. A mold for this would probably run you $5,000 to $10,000. You do have to design it. Now, I taught myself how to design molds, but I was fortunate enough to have somebody that taught me, and then I took it further. He was a mold maker, and he taught me SolidWorks. But that's a progression. But back to the mold. The mold will be your upfront cost. So let's say it cost you $10,000. Well, each individual piece might only cost you $3 because it's injection molded. The problem is the price of the mold. So your 100 pieces divided by the price of the mold is $100 a piece. But the part itself only costs us $3. So at some point we do have to make that decision. What are we selling it for? You know, what's it going to cost and what's our profit margin? And that's where it can get a little complicated, I got to admit. But that's why I use the 100-piece rule. And a lot of people don't like this rule, but it seems to work for me. And I mentioned a little bit about this in the last videos we did together. That 2.5 times number. Chances are if you make 100 pieces, that 2.5 times that number, whatever it costs you per piece, is going to be about your retail price. There's a very good chance that that's what your retail price is going to be. Unless we're talking about something that's $3 and you're going to sell it for $6. And that's going to get into another discussion that I think we talked about, but maybe we didn't. And maybe we should end it on that note. The bad news is, we talked about refrigerator magnets, remember? Okay, refrigerator magnets, I don't know what they cost, $2 to $5, let's say, a piece. But the genius of this guy in the early days of the internet, when he created these refrigerator magnet, or this refrigerator magnet website, was that he did $25 or more order was free shipping. Now, nowadays that seems like, well, that's obvious. Back 15 years ago when the internet was just starting and you could barely get a credit card to work on the internet, that was genius. And what that did is it took his average price from $5, his average sale, to $25. Now, I'm going to tell you guys the one thing that is going to discourage you, but it's a reality of the internet. If you want to be an inventor and you want to do it part-time, if you Google everything I sell, you'll notice that it's all $150 or more. That's because the products that I design for those price points. But as the economy and cost of living and stuff has risen and things like that, $400 seems to be what people are willing to spend. And remember, we talked about this. Never discount what people are willing to spend online. You think your parts need to be cheap or your products need to be cheap. If you have a good quality product that people want and very few people have access to, you can get $150 to $400. You just have to think of the right products to fit in that range. Obviously, we can't sell this mouse for $400, but we can sell this microphone, let's say, as an example, maybe for $400. It depends on what market you're going after. The computer market, these mouses used to be $99 and it had a wire on it and it was white and ugly and it had a ball underneath. And it was very simple in terms of design compared to what we have today. But they weren't selling a lot of them. And remember, the old keyboards were clunky and they were $99. So, things have changed because of how much they sell, or how many they sell, I should say. So this is part of being an inventor too, to ask your question, is knowing what people are willing to spend and inventing products that are actually going to make you money. And this may sound weird, but they're worth the while of you getting out of bed in the morning to mail them and to manufacture them and to put up with the customer service and to put up with the lost ones that are lost in customs and you have to replace at your cost and all these other things, and the people who buy them and they're using a stolen credit card or claim they never got it when they did, or it just goes on and on and on and on. So, when we talk about that 2.5 times, I talk about profit is not a dirty word in one of the videos. It's not profit in our pocket. It's profit to make our business a success and to make people buy our products so we can make more. And so that we can market and grow our website and buy our infrastructure of our cabinets and our machines and our monitors and our computers and all the things we need to continue that business to get to the next level. Because believe me, you get a fan base. I hope I have a fan base. I get emails that people tell me all the time they love my products. They've been following me for years. I get angry people too, but you learn, that's part of being an inventor too. You learn to take the good with the bad. I get emails, your product doesn't work, or the next one I get, your product is great. Now, granted, when your product has been selling for 10 years and somebody tells you your product doesn't work, we can pretty much guess it's not the product at this point.
Right.
So, but we could do a whole video on the customer isn't always right. So, but we won't today. So let's get into the machine. We can think about, this 100 unit. Maybe you can come up with a way to talk about your idea. Hopefully you have an idea that's in that price range. Hopefully, and if your idea isn't in that price range, hopefully you can add some products and features and things like that to put it, maybe you have the cheap one and you have the better one. Oh, and one last thing, and this is gonna run on and on and on. Sorry if the video is getting long, but when you do a product, you should always do it in threes. I think we talked about this. So you're not making one product. You're making one product that is done 3 ways. The beauty of this is the same parts can be used in multiple ways within those 3 products. Now, when you get into electronics, it's easy to make 3 different products that look completely different that all work the same way internally. You just can redesign the circuit board and the cases, and suddenly they're different. You can change the size of the memory. You can do things with the software. There's all kinds of things you can do with electronics, which is what I do to make different products. But being inherently lazy, I like to take one design that takes me a year to do and then make it 3 different ways. So this is what you need to think about. There might be a customer that doesn't have the budget, and I'm just assuming it has some kind of snaps, let's say, or belts or clips. One customer might want plastic, another one might want stainless steel, another one might want gold plated. I'm just making this up. Maybe one has Velcro, another has zippers. These are the things that give you, suddenly your idea has now turned into not 3, but maybe 6 or 9 products. Oh wait, they're fabric. You can have 5 different types of fabric and colors.
Right. Yeah.
Now you have 15, 20 products on your website. And you've gotten the same and if you don't believe me, just Google and look at all the shopping carts that are out there, and you'll see this is exactly what everybody else is doing. They have maybe never thought of it in this detail. It just kind of progressed that way. But think of even t-shirt companies that sell t-shirts online. Think of that. They sell what? 5 different sizes? I mean, men have probably 3 or 4 sizes, but then you have women's sizes, kids' sizes. So let's just say there's a dozen sizes. I don't know. But basically, it's the same shirt in different sizes and different colors. And then they have, 50, 100, 1,000, I don't know, graphics to choose from. But it's just a shirt.
Yeah.
Now it has buttons, it's a pullover, it's a sweater. You're wearing one that was probably printed and bought online. So it's one product 1,000 different ways, maybe 10,000 by the time you add all the variances. It's not that difficult to turn one simple idea and a few $1,000s into an empire when you think that way. Does that sum it up for you guys? I think they're getting tired of watching this part of the video. We're going to go into part 2, which is we're actually going to build this. And I think you're going to like this part because it'll actually let you see something we just talked about turn into a real product right before your eyes. So stay with us and watch part 2 as we take this chair and we turn it into a reality on Invention Therapy.